Good morning. You may be seated. Dr. Manamela, good morning to you, too. Do you swear that the evidence you're about to give will be the truth and nothing but the truth? And if so, raise your right hand and say, "So help me God."
So help me God.
Advocate Krause.
Thank you, Justice. Doctor, we were on the 5th of August 2016, on Friday. That's the date on which Sharma's service agreement was signed. Remember that?
Yes, Counsel.
At that stage, 64 people had died. The 64th person was an unknown person and who's still unknown at this stage, who died on the 25th of August. Are you aware of that?
Thank you, Counsel. I'm aware now, but at that time I was not aware of the 64 people that have already passed on.
And I've put it to you on Friday that as a responsible manager, you should have been aware of it and you should have stopped Sharma's service agreement.
Justice, through you, Justice, can I just explain this? That we started placing from May and July. So it appears that the number to be at that level should have included the other patient that went out of Life Esidimeni through 200 bed reduction process and through 20% reduction. I think that was the reason why maybe the number was as high as that. And at that time, we were looking at the placement process, and which by that time, even when we reported to legislator, we didn't include those who passed on before placement. But I acknowledge that those who pass on during discharge, we cannot send them out of the process.
What question did you answer now, Dr. Manamela?
The one that you just asked, that at that time, there was, when the Sharma service level agreement was signed, there were 64 patients who died.
Yes,
and
my
one
question,
son.
sorry, Dr. Manamela, my question was, as a responsible manager, you would have not made sure that the service level agreement was not entered with Sharma.
The service, I will ensure. However, the service level agreement is signed at the district.
Yes, Doctor, you've explained that to us before, and I don't want to belabor the point. But as a responsible manager, you should have checked those things, and you should have made sure that that did not happen. Don't you agree with me?
It's okay. That's correct.
Thank you very much. Now, on the 30th of August 2016, there were questions answered by the MEC in the legislature. Is that right? You're aware of that?
I'm aware of the
And
questions.
she already gave written answers, I think on the 11th of August, but she also presented them in the legislature on the 30th of August. You're aware of that?
I can't remember.
Who would have given her the information to present to the legislature?
I think the information would have been from the project manager and the immediate team and myself as project.
So you would have checked as the responsible manager that the information is correct?
As the deputy
Yes.
project
Now,
manager.
at that stage, Dr. Manamela, there were already 67 people that have passed away. And yet, on the 30th of August, no mention is made of any people dying. What do you say to that?
I don't have that document. I'm unable to answer it.
Okay, maybe I can just give it to you. It's in volume 3, page 1063. Do you have page 1063?
Yes.
That is what happened in the legislature. If one look to about just the bottom of the page, about 10 lines from the bottom, the speaker is a Mr. Bloom, and he says they are not getting food even. I'm told that they are living in shacks in Brown Fisherville, NGO, and I've heard complaints about Takalani and various others. And then if you turn the page, again, page 1064, at the bottom of the page, the NGO, the MEC says, and it's again probably 10 lines from the bottom, Takalani, for instance, that you talk about, Mr. Bloom.
Sorry, let the witness find the place. Have you found the passage that you are being referred to on page 1064?
Line 10.
No, at the bottom, from the bottom upwards. 8 lines from the bottom.
Yes, I found it, Council.
The MEC says, Takalani, for instance, that you talk about, Member Bloom. You can go there now. My team was there last week, Friday, and I'm going on Thursday. That facility is doing exceptional work. And then a few lines further, so I do not think it's fair for you to come here and rubbish the work that is being done by the diligent NGOs that are continuously looking after some of these members whose families are no longer interested in looking after them. Did that information come from you?
I don't think the deliberation between Shadow MEC and the MEC can be the one I can account for.
No, I'm just asking that the information that Takalani is doing excellent work come from you?
I don't know where she got it, but I knew by then that Takalani was doing well.
So you agreed with that?
By that time, yes. I agreed with that.
Was it information from you that the families didn't want to look after the...
No, it was not what I know. MEC says it very well here that my team were there on Friday. I think I mentioned the chief director, myself, and Professor Musa, we went immediately after the meeting. So I will believe, although I can't speak for her, that she was speaking to around us visiting that. But the other information, we must also look at what made her to say whatever she said. I won't be able to answer, but when
Doctor,
she said she will.
the papers are now before you. If you turn a few pages back, you'll find the written answers to the questions. And nowhere does it say that at this stage, 67 people have died. 7 at Takalani itself had died at that stage. So why was that kept away from the legislature?
When this was presented, I don't know, but what I know is that we were, by that time, we have started working on those who passed on from the time of placement. So I don't know how this was presented, and I
Yes,
think
but
the MEC
what I'm
will be
wanting
able
from
to-
you is that 67 people had at this time died. 7 had died at Takalani itself. And there's nothing said in the legislature about that. Do you agree with that?
When I look at this document, nothing was said about
Thank you.
that.
And when questions are asked, the person asking the questions are belittled, and the family members are belittled. So my question to you is, why did the deaths not feature in that report?
Council, it's very simple. The legislature question at this time here didn't ask about the death. When we answer the legislature question, we answer what they question. But as far for the deliberation between Mr. Bloom and Ms. Mahlangu, I can't answer for that. But what I know, we'll answer according to what the legislature wants. And they haven't put the issue of death here. Even if we had some death that we know from May to July, we couldn't have sent them because it was not here.
Yes. Doctor, two things from your answer now. The first is, did the MEC know about these deaths at the time that those questions were answered on the 30th of August 2016?
I don't know if she knew about that.
You did not tell her about the deaths?
We were reporting to MEC in the meeting that she was chairing almost every 2 weeks. So I don't know. So
can I just get a straight answer? Did you tell her about the deaths, yes or no?
Can I get it so when she presented, or you want to know if she ever had anything about the death? I need to get it right.
When, on the 30th of August 2016, did the MEC know about deaths in the NGOs?
I will say, I don't know if she knew, but I know in the meeting we reported, like the first death that I knew after the process, I reported about that. But I think she will be able to answer that question.
I'm asking you, Dr. Manamela, did you tell her before the 30th of August that people were dying in the NGOs?
We reported that people died in the NGO that we knew about in the meeting.
So you told the MEC? Just yes or no, Dr. Malema?
I said yes, we
Thank
reported.
you. Now, the second issue that results from what you've just told the court is that you will keep the truth away from the legislature if they don't answer, or if they don't ask you. Is that what you're saying?
It's not what I'm saying, but I'm not the one who present to the legislature. The legislature can ask anybody who presented to them, but if the question was sent to my office, we'll present the question. We'll respond to the question that was sent to my office.
You didn't think it important to say, yes, you're right, there are problems, people are dying. Isn't that the whole truth?
I cannot accept that. I didn't think.
Okay, let us move on. On the 1st of September, this was also at the time when 67 people had died, a letter was written where in section 27 asked for a meeting. And the letter was also addressed to you. Now my question to you is, do you agree the letter was also addressed to you? My learned friend took you through it the other day.
That's correct.
And you didn't do anything on that letter?
The meeting, the stakeholder meetings were not chaired by myself.
I'm not asking about the stakeholder meetings, Dr. Manamela. I'm asking, here is another warning to you on the 1st of September. And you don't feel yourself compelled to do anything. Is that right?
It's not right.
Now, what did you do as a result of the letter on the 1st of September?
We asked, the HOD was the one who was contacting the meeting, that we need to meet with the stakeholder because they are no longer meeting with us. In the meantime, we were busy from my unit to ensure that the service is improving in the NGO.
I'm asking you, what did you do? Not what other people did. What did you do to ensure that no further people die?
I strengthened the support of the NGOs.
How did you do that?
I allocated people to adopt NGOs in my office to say, you will be adopt this NGO, it's your baby, and then assist them. And where I could manage to visit, I did visit.
Is that all that you did?
It's all what we have done.
And now I'm not talking about other people, doctor. I'm asking about, is that all that you did?
That's correct.
Now, if we can go on, 12 days later, on the 13th of September 2016, there were again questions before the legislature. Do you agree?
I don't have the date, but I will agree because we're dealing with a lot of legislature questions.
Now, at that stage, more than 70 people have died. Do you agree?
I don't have the data, but I was told, I saw from the Ombudsman's report that people who had died, the number was as huge as you were saying.
Can I ask you, who provided the info for that meeting to the legislature?
Always during the process, the legislature question will come to either to the project manager or to my office, and then we start compiling the information.
Yes, I'm asking you, who compiled the information for the legislature? Was it you?
We compile a draft and send it to MEC, they finalize it.
Did you prepare the information for the MEC?
Yes.
Thank you. And it says that each patient only received one set of clothes from Life Esidimeni. Did that information come from you?
The information, I don't have what to have, but I know that it was reported in the project team meeting that patient received one set of clothes from the Life Esidimeni. I know about that.
And you didn't speak to the patients to find out whether that was in fact so?
I spoke to Life Esidimeni because there are people who are speaking with the patient at their level there. I spoke to the team. The project team members are the ones who reported that. The clinicians that were team members and the hospital and the NGO. So we speak about that, and then I had to take it back to the Life Esidimeni that we cannot accept the one set of clothes.
Did you say that there were only 8 new NGOs to the MEC?
I don't remember how many we said, but it was not all of them were not all new NGOs.
So you can't remember whether you told the truth or not?
No, I always tell the truth. I was not telling lies. But whatever you are saying now, I don't have the data, and I can't remember 2 years ago. Okay. But I know we had new NGOs, we had old NGOs.
The MEC said there were only one complaint about an NGO. Did that information come from you?
If it's in the legislature, it might have come from me, or it was, let me say, people will complain straight to MEC. Most of the complaints that I handled were coming from MEC. So I cannot say for certain that one complaints come from me or from the MEC.
And that there were no other complaints. So only one complaint about one NGO. That's what was said in the legislature. Is that correct?
I don't know. I was not there.
No, you know, Dr. Manamela.
No, I don't know.
You know about all the family members complaining to you about the NGOs.
Council, I know they complained. They do it, including Mr. Jake Bloom were there, Sadek were there doing. But I cannot answer for things that I didn't write. That's my problem. I'm in a predicament because I'm being asked to respond on what MEC said to legislature. I don't sit in the legislature. I'm too junior to be there unless they really want me.
But you didn't provide the information now. Is that what you're saying?
I am not saying we didn't provide the information, but some of the information that you are directing to me, I can't remember them unless I see them.
Okay, I'm going to move on from that, except to say that the information provided is that 36 patients had died at that stage, whereas we know much more have died. Why is that information was wrong?
Can I explain that? Like I said, in this proceedings, and I also said to the ombudsman that at the time when we prepared that legislature question, we had 36 patients who died, and we were only looking at the people because the question was saved from Life Esidimeni project. So because of that, we look at those who died from May, June, July, and August. So these are the numbers that we gave. But if we were told that everyone who was sent to life to the NGO or to hospital, let's get the number, there was nothing that will hide, because we'll inform the NGO and the district that will inform the NGO, and then we get all the data. But that is what was asked, and we look at placement period. And that is not the same period that the ombudsman and you are referring me to, because it was period from March, while we look at the period from May, June.
I'm just going to put it again to you, Dr. Manamela. If you were in proper control, you would have known that this move caused more people to die. Do you agree with me?
I was in a proper control, and I don't dispute that. But the timelines, we need to look at the timelines.
Now, I'm going to move on the timeline. In October, the Umbud became involved. Do you agree? To October 2016.
That's correct.
At that stage, you must have known something big is wrong. Is that right?
That's correct.
Now, in the time that the Umbud was busy with his report, until it was released in February, 30 more people had died. What did you do to ensure that no more people die?
There are a lot of things that I believe we have done, although because I didn't have time to prepare for this question that I didn't know. But what I can tell you is that once one patient died, we never fold our hands and say they're dying or patient died. We had to find out. I asked the board member to assist us in investigating the death. We developed a rigorous program to go to the NGOs where deaths were reported and to find out. And again, we also have to say those NGOs where we think there are challenges, we can move them, or we can move the patient.
Why didn't you move the patients? 30 more people died after you were aware that there's a huge problem.
We did move some of the patients, but we didn't know who's going to die at that time. But we tried our best to move the patient. We tried our best to ensure that the clinicians around the NGO are visiting the NGO, to an extent that I also went back to the board and say, clinicians who are board members, because they were also working before they are board members, they worked at Life Esidimeni. I asked them to say, Mama Sondo, can we allow this clinician to go to this NGO and assess the patient on our behalf? So we didn't fold our hands. And
why do you have to get the consent of Ms. Nsondo to do your work?
She is the board chairperson. She cannot just see the board people left without her knowing. And fortunate or to tell the truth, she never had problems, and then she released the doctors.
Dr. Manamela, why was it necessary to get Ms. Nsondo to do the work that you were supposed to do?
She was not doing the work that I was supposed to do. It was said here that the board felt the report to me. I had to ask her. She was the chairperson of the board. If we need legal advice, we'll go through Mrs. Masondo. That's how government works. If we need clinician, we'll go through her, ask her to release the people.
I'm going to leave that for legal argument, because that is just wrong. What I want to put to you, after the report came out on the 1st of February, you still had 15 days in office before you were suspended. And in that time, further patients died. Why didn't you at that stage stop the dying, made a plan to stop the dying?
I think the plan was there already. The plan was there.
Okay. Doctor, I must just put it to you to finalize this point. you had opportunity to speak out over a long period and you did not?
Can,
Just yes or no?
through justice, you said I had opportunity to speak out.
Yes, we went through the
Yes.
timeline now and we showed you
But
that
you know,
just let me finish.
Okay.
You asked, and I'm telling you, I showed you on the timeline all the times that you had the opportunity to speak out, even to the legislature, and you didn't.
You know, it's just a pity. You said I didn't, and you were not with us. I don't know who reported that I didn't say anything. I didn't do anything. I just went to the office and go home. That's the implication I get now, and that is untrue.
Dr. Manamela, I want to put it to you, if you'd spoken out, people would not have died.
I don't know how I should answer that question.
Okay.
Because it appears that according to the question, I just kept quiet all the time. Yet we had meetings, yet we were in pain, yet we reported. But you are saying, if I spoke out, I don't know what I should have spoken out.
You should have told, when you prepared the questions for the legislators, say people are dying. You should have told the MEC, people are dying, stop this now.
I don't understand what makes you to think I didn't say anything. I don't understand.
You said that. Okay, let us continue. You also had the time.
Let's try again. You don't ask questions. Just listen to the question. We must make progress. Listen to the question and answer. Your question is, why did you not say anything? You could say, I have said this, and give us the details of what you said, okay? Don't shout back at counsel. I'd like you to listen to the question and answer it, please. Proceed, counsel.
Thank you. We've also, through the timeline, showed that you did not listen to what was being said to you. And I want to put it to you, had you listened, people's lives would have been saved. What do you say to that?
I will say I was not the decision maker for the program. So that is why whether I say it or not, I was not making the final decision. People were doing the shadow MEC was also there, and the MEC was receiving the memorandum. And
the question is, you did not listen. Just deal with that, please. You're all over the show. Just deal with that, please.
I listened. I gave my time to listen to what people were saying.
Dr. Manamela, even now in November 2017, you are still not prepared to speak out against what has happened. What do you say to that?
I'm prepared to speak out. That's why I'm here.
But you're deflecting and you're denying. Isn't that so?
What I deny is what I don't know, or what I know is not correct.
Doctor, I want to put it to you that your attitude is not bringing the truth to this commission. What do you say to that?
That's how you perceive me, because I know what I went through, and some of you were not there. And now, if that's how you perceive it, there's nothing more I can say. And I will ask myself, I'm here to assist, but it's like the decision is taken already about my submission.
I'm also wanting to put it to you that your attitude is not bringing closure to the family. Do you want to answer that?
I still don't agree, because I'm telling you what I know, and it's difficult for me to be telling you what you want to know. Is difficult maybe, because I'm just telling you what I know and what I know we did during the process.
I'm also putting it to you that your attitude is not bringing healing. What do you say to that?
I don't agree.
Doctor, I just want to speak to you about the people that went missing in this whole marathon project. Now, or a lot of our people that we that we represent will come and testify that the mental health care user went missing for a period from a few days to 3 months. Can you deny that that had happened?
Through justice, can I just get it clear whether they went missing from our NGO or went missing from hospital or from Life Esidimeni?
Sorry, doctor, the question wasn't clear. Can I just make it clear? That for a period of a few days to about 3 months, some of them did not know where the mental health care user was being kept. And I'm sorry for the ineloquent put of that question.
That one I know about it.
And the reason for that is that there was not proper communication.
I guess so.
Yes. And that caused stress and harm to the families and the mental health care users. You agree?
I agree, but
Thank
can
you.
I qualify it?
Angithi besivumelene ukuthi Nina, you're not going to heckle, please. Nam ndiyatineka from time to time. Bafuneka ngizibambe njengani, okay? So ngiyacela ukuba nizibambe nani ne. Asikwazi usebenza in a heckling arrangement, not in an arbitration tribunal, certainly not. Okay, Zamani, ngiyacela. Can heckle here, ngiyacela, please. Okay. Counsel.
Thank you, Justice. You wanted to qualify, Doctor?
Yes, Counsel. I told you that at the beginning of our normal process with Life, they reported 773 patients that does not have families. That's number one. The other thing was that when department commissioned the high report, high to investigate, they also indicated 59% of the patient doesn't have families. So I'm not saying those who didn't know is because they didn't have families, but I'm just trying to let you understand it might be some of the reason. The second thing that I mentioned was that Life Esidimeni, in our agreement of planning of placement process, they were expected to inform the family that they have contact numbers and before the patient left, and we inform the patient's family when they arrived at us.
Yes,
so
Doctor.
those might have been problem as I gave the report last week. Some of them, they say they text, no answer, they phone, no answer, but I know that some of the family members didn't know, and I don't know if they fall within the reasons I gave.
Doctor, I'm just going to not ask you a question further
Well,
on
tell
that.
me something. Where can we look at a comprehensive schedule of all mental health care users who were moved from Life Esidimeni to the specific NGOs?
I thank you, Justice. I have given last week the report of those who moved from Randfontein and those who moved from Waverley.
I'm not
There
looking
is-
for numbers. I've seen your
Yes,
your
but
plan.
it's
They are just
indicating-
numbers. Listen to me. I've
Sorry
been listening
about
to you
my
for
apology,
a long
Justice.
time, and just learn to listen, please. Is there a schedule with names of mental health care users who were at Life Esidimeni and to where they were moved?
Yes, Justice. There is a schedule where they were moved
With their names?
with their names.
Where do we find that?
It can be in my office.
How was it compiled and by whom?
Okay. the 2 DDs and social workers in each and every area where they were placed, they compiled the schedule, and also indicating where they are going and indicating the names of the patients. So and so is at this NGO, so and so went at this NGO. Also, whether they found the family informed or not. So that schedule is there. It should be there in my office because
How would anybody then be missing if there's a comprehensive schedule of patients and where they were taken to?
Hey.
How would hundreds be missing?
Justice, I don't know how will they be missing, but I was thinking, I understand that the family never knew where they were, which I admitted that if there is a possibility, most families didn't know where they were. But that the patient were missing, 100 patients were missing, that one I was not aware, Justice.
How do we get this schedule you're talking about?
We can ask from the department, from my office, because they were reporting to me those schedule every day. If people will go to El Shaddai, will know the names, that this so and so many patients went to El Shaddai today. Just like that, they went to Dagalan, so many went to this place.
Not how so many, I mean names.
Yes, names.
Of people. Your schedule talks about numbers. I'm talking about breathing and living people who have names, ages, gender. Is there a schedule like that?
Yes, Cancer. Yes, Justice, there is a schedule like that.
And when they died, why didn't you know of it?
As soon as
this morning, that advocate was taking you through different steps.
Yes.
And showing the pile up of corpses. That's what she was doing. And wanting to know why were you not alive to that, and why didn't you report it, and why didn't you respond to it? So if there is such a schedule, why didn't you know when everybody went quiet? In other words, when they passed on.
Justice, when patient passed on, they were reported through the district to us, and then we will follow up if we need anything. But there are documents that indicating who passed on. We knew about that. The only hassle that maybe council was asking was that it was 64 while we reported 36. Then I said...
It's much more than that, ma'am.
Yes, I'm just giving
From the
example.
beginning, every time somebody died under the state's care, appearing on your schedule, this grand schedule with all the details, you would know, isn't it?
That's correct, Justice.
Why didn't you know?
We knew as soon as we reported, we knew about them, Justice.
Your answer is different to Advocate Krause.
Yes, with the qualification that I was giving, but we knew, because once we realized a lot of patients now are passing on, we had to ensure that we get even weekly report to find out that.
Why didn't the MEC tell the whole nation? You said because the questions did not ask about that.
Yeah, the one I prepared, Justice, didn't ask about that, but that the death were reported.
But why didn't you make it public that people who you decided to place in different NGOs were dying? That's really what the debate was with Advocate Krause.
Justice, it was not reported by me, and I don't know reasons why.
No, but why didn't you report it?
I reported to the through the channel to the project manager. I reported through the channels, but I'm not the one to report.
No, I'm not talking channels. Yeah. Give me names. I want people.
People?
Yes.
I reported to Mr. Museno that people are starting to die. Also, the DDG also was made aware the HOD, and
Who's the DDG by
Dr.
name?
Libet was also Dr. Libet. And then
Yes.
we had the HOD, Dr. Silvan, and we have the MEC.
So you told them about people dying, as well as the MEC, I suppose, Ms. Qetani Mahlangu.
Yes, they were also, they were part of the
What was
meeting.
their response?
Although I can't give you the written response, but nobody in the department was really happy. We were all saddened by the death of the patient.
What you had started, why didn't you call it off? All of you were these powerful executives. Why didn't you say people are dying? Something went wrong. As it happened in October 2016, the project was called off, right? So the debate between you and Advocate Krause is, why didn't you do that so that fewer and fewer people die?
It was not within my delegation to stop the project.
Whose
but
power was it to
the
stop?
power was the MEC and HOD.
If you had the power, would you have stopped the project?
I believe so.
When people started dying, would you have been worried and stopped it?
I was actually worried, really, Justice.
Why
and
did you show me a letter where you recommended to the MEC or anybody to stop it?
the letter was, I didn't write a letter because at that time, we already finished with placement in June. So what we were supposed to have done now is to look for the place where if we take the patient, we take them away. Because Life Esidimeni was already closed, no patient, no staff, no resources was already there. So it was within us to say, let's see what we can do and where can we take this patient to. And we tried to do something like that, Justice.
On another matter, do you know what happened to the people who worked at Life Esidimeni? The nurses, the clinicians, the cleaners, and other support staff?
I can partly tell you what I know. I don't know all of them, but what I know was that during the process, there was an HR team that was planning to appoint the Life Esidimeni staff, and it's indicated, I think you have it in my report, that how many staff from Life Esidimeni were appointed in Vescopis, Kalinen, and Sterfontein. However,
you haven't told me yet what happened to the staff members. You're telling me there was a plan.
No, I'm sorry,
What
Justice.
happened to their jobs?
Some of them were appointed by the department.
How many people lost their jobs?
I'm not quite sure, but if I've been given time, I can check, because I've got a list of those the department has appointed.
I'm asking about those who lost their jobs at Life Esidimeni. Many things might have happened to them thereafter. They might have been appointed, they might have been whatever else. I want to know, when it shut down, how many people lost their jobs?
I don't know, Justice.
Mr. Musinogi told us. I want you to tell us.
I don't know how many lost, because there might be many. Why I'm saying that Life Esidimeni has been operating
Hundreds, isn't it?
even with contracts, resources.
Hundreds?
Yes, it can be hundreds. We didn't appoint all of them. That can be true, but I don't have the exact number.
Psychiatric nurses like you, clinicians, doctors, ground staff, and people who did cleaning work, we told lost their jobs. Did you think about that when you got into this project?
Yes, it's
The
very
one end is
difficult.
people who lost their lives, and the other one, people who lost their jobs.
Yes, yes, Justice. We thought about it. That's why we recommended that if they can be appointed in the department, let them be appointed. If the department can just absorb them all or use one of their facility, let it be. So that's what we were
What do you mean,
doing.
let it be?
So we ask the leadership to say if we can absorb all of them, that will help. And then again, if this, maybe
The
we
number
use
that
one.
Mr. Musinogi gave us was a small percentage of nearly 300 people or so. I can check the numbers that lost their jobs. Now I want to know, you as the head of mental health care, were you worried about that?
Yes, Justice, I was worried about that.
But you nonetheless went ahead with the plan.
It was not my decision to went ahead of the plan, but I worried about it. We met, and it was also presented how many people are going to lose jobs and how many people may not even qualify in our own work. Like the care workers, we didn't have care workers in the department. So that's why the MEC and the HOD asked, after we advised, that let there be HR team to work and see how can we assist these people. So that's about what we recommended.
Did you care that so many people would lose their jobs and they are healthcare givers?
Yes, Justice, I did care. Can I tell you that I even had to ask the NGO if they can appoint the care workers from Life Esidimeni. Because I was worried, I was concerned, because we know what mental health is.
And were any appointed at NGOs?
The report that came back to me was that the Life Esidimeni were paying them more money because our
Were
stipends
any
was,
appointed at NGOs?
I don't know about it.
Council.
Doctor, I want to come to the patients that were discharged home during this project. I see, am I correct that you anticipated that about 50 patients would be sent home when you started the project in your initial plan?
That's correct.
Thank you. And when the MEC first spoke in Parliament, or when she spoke in November, she also said 50 were going to be sent home. Do you agree with that?
I agree, although
Thank you.
we'll just know who will go home, because
Yes,
in
but
our
let
thinking...
us just
Okay.
answer the questions, please, Doctor.
Okay, fine, I agree.
Thank you. Now, we know when people go home, and this is also according to Dr. Tala, there's insufficient community care for them. You agree with that?
Not 100% agreeing with that.
Okay. And we also know in terms of the policy, often the mental health care users end up on the streets because their families can't care for them. Isn't that so?
That we know.
Yes.
Councillor.
And also, according to Dr. Manamela, often they land in the criminal justice center. Do you agree with that?
There are patients that will end in the criminal justice center.
And the
that's
reason
true.
for that is that there's not sufficient support for families and mental care health users at the community level. Do you agree with that?
I partly agree with that, but it's not all that I can say. That is the reason.
Now, we also know that eventually close to 400 people were sent home. 393 people were sent home. Do you agree with that?
That's correct.
And Mr. Kinoshi testified that 59 of those people are still missing. Are you aware of that?
I am not aware of that.
Did you not track the patients that were sent home to make sure that they get community service?
Can I explain that, how we did it?
Now, first answer my question, then you can explain. Did you not track what happened to the patients that you sent home?
We did track.
Now, I'm asking that you track.
Yes, when Yes, let me say yes.
You tracked.
Yes.
So what happened to this 59 people that are missing?
Can I explain that? I'm not sure what I'm going to explain will cover everything for anyone who were missing. But what I know is that once the patients are in the hands of the family, they've been linked to the nearest clinic so that the family at the time for collection of medication or at the time when the patient's behavior changes, they can take the patient to the nearest clinic. At that time, they will take them to the nearest clinic where they are seen by the community mental health care staff. So that's how it should. If they were not taken there, or maybe the patient didn't want to go, they also call the clinic and say, can you come and help us? It's due time for the patient for treatment. He doesn't want to come. So when they need any assistance, they were given how will they get assistance from us.
What, you wanted to explain what you were doing. What did you do?
What I said is what we did.
I'm going to ask the question again. What did you do?
What I just explained is what we did. Do I explain? Should I explain again?
But again, is there a schedule, are they on your schedule of people who left Life Esidimeni?
The people who left, who were discharged from Life Esidimeni, they are given, if they go home, they are given treatment sheet that they go take it to the clinic.
Listen to me. You told us you have a master sheet that contains all the people who you caused to be moved out of Life Esidimeni. Were these patients included on that schedule?
No, they were not included.
Why not?
Because when they are discharged from Life Esidimeni, it was like the way it used to happen. They are given what I just explained to the council, and they take that note to the clinic, so that when the clinic order medication, they also include them. So it was not in the provincial level at that time.
And you were asked, did you track them? And you said yes.
Yes, in the meetings we had with the coordinator, we checked if all the patients that came, that were discharged, went to their clinics, because the clinics belongs to the district, register.
How do you track people whose names you have not kept?
The way it has been tracked, Justice, is through the district. It was not through my office, because if the family said, we are taking our member to home, then we'll ask, what is your nearest clinic? The letter is sent with the family to the nearest clinic, and they will take the letter so that the treatment for that patient will be ordered before the patient comes to the clinic. And that function is done by the district coordinators, who will report in the meeting if they had any challenges.
And how do 59 people go missing?
I don't know, Justice.
It can be, you know that. You're a public servant. It can be that any answer that comes to your mind is okay to give. We're talking about human beings who are under your care. That's what you're being asked about. Who you caused to be discharged, presumably to their homes, and they go missing. And this is what this inquiry is about. If you could just bring your mind to the core issue that the advocate is trying to understand, it will help all of us so much. And you know why? You owe us a duty of explanation. You were paid every day to do the work. You're not doing anybody a favor. It was your work to look after these people, and for it you were paid. So she's entitled to ask you, what happened to these 59 people who again are also vulnerable? That you chose to discharge them does not mean they cease to be vulnerable. What's your response?
Justice, I'm giving you the procedure as it happened, because these patients are not sent to the provincial level. They are community, and in the community, we have got community offices. So that's what I'm trying to give to these proceedings. And if it doesn't, I don't know, that's what I'm giving. This is how it worked. It doesn't mean that they will send to Dr. Manamela in the province. It will still be the same process that we are using, because we wanted to include these people in the community, all of them.
Yes. Doctor, your answer in short is you didn't do anything to track them.
That's not true.
Can I just interrogate your answer further? Putting the blame now on the clinics is really not going to work. Being in the Department of Health, you know that they're understaffed. You know that they don't have all the medicine that they should have. Isn't that so? Just yes or no, please, Doctor.
Yes.
Now, as a responsible manager, you would have known that sending them to the clinics is no answer at all. Isn't that so?
No.
Okay, let us move on, Doctor. I only have a few questions left for you, but is that a smile on your face, Justice?
It's a smile on my face, indeed. We can change voices in this tribunal. So I've been hearing one voice for a very long time.
Thank you, Justice. We've established that this project wasn't about money. Now, if it wasn't about money, why was the project initiated? Do you know?
I don't know.
Okay. We also established from you that you had no written instruction whatsoever. Is that right? To do this project?
No, that is not right, because the written instruction was the termination letter.
No, but you started this project, please, Doctor. You started this project long before the termination letter. I'm asking you, who gave you, you said you didn't have a written instruction. Are you changing that now?
Maybe you didn't hear me very well, but I'm changing it because the first 200 beds we started to work on is on the strategy that was signed by the HOD, which to me is a written instruction. And the second 20% is also on the letter that I gave last week, which is also saying we're going to reduce. I didn't start the project on my own as the director.
Before the letter, you developed a plan. Now, I want to know, did you have a written instruction for that plan?
The written instruction I had was the strategy for mental health care services, which I can hand it to you, signed by the HOD.
Doctor, did you have a written instruction to remove all patients from Life Esidimeni?
All patients. The termination letter is the written instruction that I had.
So at the time that you prepared the plan to do that, you didn't have a written instruction, according to you?
I had a written instruction of 2 letters. I'm not sure of the date the HOD signed 20%, but I'm sure of the date for the strategy to be implemented.
I will leave that for argument. Can I just have a few quick answers from you? Who's the NGO manager who prepared your licenses?
Is Miss Jacobos.
Can you spell that, please?
Jacobus. Jacobus.
Hannah Jacobus.
Yes.
So she's the person that told you to sign these licenses.
She's the person who prepared the licenses.
Next question is that...
I'm sorry, just before you go, Council, what was her designation?
She is the Deputy Director, Mental Health, responsible for NGO in the province.
Where is she now?
I guess she's in the office, because I'm not in the office, I'm suspended. I guess she's still in the office.
And when you say she prepared the licenses, you mean what? You mean she did all the due diligence, I mean the work, and just gave you a written out license to sign?
What I mean, Justice, is that she went out with the team to evaluate. Some of the team I might have been there, some may not be there. But when they come back, they agreed she will prepare the license. In some areas, she will just get the request for the license from the district and she will prepare the license.
Have you ever refused to sign a license she prepared before?
Yeah, there were many that I refused to sign, but I can't remember which ones.
For which reason?
Like if maybe I am not in agreement with what the report said, or maybe I was there as well, I saw that we can't give license to this one, I will refuse.
So if you called Miss Anna Jacobus, she will tell us that she prepared all these licenses for you to sign.
That's correct, Justice.
Counsel.
Doctor, the justice asked you whether your job was advertised. And you said no, and you also said you're not a political appointment. So how did you get your job?
Okay.
Just the short version, if you don't mind.
Okay, the department will restructure and appoint people, same as like Mr. Museno said, he was in the district and was called to do
It was a
planning.
restructuring process.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Could you give us the name?
But why did you leave your position as CEO of Natal Sprite?
I was advised to come to the head office
By whom?
by, at that time, the chief of operation was Dr. Rahman, and the MEC was also, she was still in the department, but it was Dr. Rahman.
No, by whom? But who called you? Who terminated your appointment as CEO?
Dr.
Natal Sprite?
Rahman. Dr. Rahman.
Why did Dr. Rahman terminate your appointment?
In one meeting, she told me that the MEC said I must be recalled because many CEOs were recalled from the hospital to the province.
Were you told
So-
why you were recalled?
Because they made a phone call, they didn't give me a letter. It was me and the other
No, but you were
executive.
called back before the end of your term as CEO. And I'm asking you, right? It was
That's-
before the end of your term.
That's correct.
I'm asking you, why were you recalled? Do you know?
I said the Dr. Rahman indicated that he was instructed to recall me and my other team members.
Do you know why?
He didn't indicate the reason, but what I know was that there were some union activities in the hospital and they felt that maybe they should recall the management.
And the union activity demanded that you be removed, right?
I'm just guessing that because I was not told the
No, in
letter.
your own knowledge, you were there, you were
Yeah,
the CEO.
I think so.
The union wanted you, and the union was Nehau, right?
That's correct.
And they wanted you to be removed as CEO.
That's correct.
Was that the first time and the only time you were removed as a CEO of a hospital?
That's the first time
And the only time?
and the only time.
Where else were you CEO of a hospital?
Not Mamelodi Hospital.
Yes. And did you leave there after a full term?
Yeah, even beyond that.
No, I want to know whether your contract was terminated after a term or did you stay out a full term?
I stayed
These
there.
are not difficult facts. We
No,
can call
I
Dr.
st- I
Ginoshi
stayed full term.
and ask him because there are records about these
No,
things.
I stayed over full term.
And then transferred to Natal Sprite.
Appointed at Natal Sprite. They advertised a post at Natal Sprite. Then I went for interviews and I was appointed.
What were the unions unhappy about? Do you know? Natal Spruit Hospital?
I think there were a lot of, the union will always complain. So the complaints about HR processes, yes, I think the main issue was their HR processes.
Now, after your departure from Natal Spruit Hospital, short of your full term, how did you get appointed head of mental health care?
Okay.
And by whom?
All right, letters were written to almost most of us. There were doctors. It was a restructuring process where they said we ran short of some doctors in the institution. So I received a letter that said I'm appointed as the director for mental health services.
You know by now, after we spent 4 days together, I don't like letters were sent.
Okay.
The subject, a verb, and an object, a basic simple sentence. Who sent a letter to you?
Dr. Rahman's office. I am not quite sure, but it appears all letters were signed by the MEC, but the inquiry was from Dr. Rahman or HR.
So your appointment, we could track down with the MEC. Can we ask her about your appointment when she comes?
Can I suggest that yeah, I think it's still okay, but you can also track it down with HR.
And who signed your letter of appointment?
I'm not sure now because I didn't have time to check, but it's either the HR manager or the HR chief director or the MEC. I'm not sure because the whole process of taking doctors to hospital and others to others, I think it was on the advice of the MEC, but I'm not sure it was signed by MEC on my letter or the HR chief director. That we can still check.
Counsel.
Thank you, Justice. Could I also ask you, what is the name of the company who provided clothing and linen to the NGOs?
The name of the company, I'm not sure, but I know that it was, they said it's Mr. Stevens, and Miss Hannah Jacobs was the one who organized that. And when I went to the NGO, I saw the linen. That's
so
what
you
I
don't know the name of the company?
The name of the company, I don't know, but it was reported in the meeting is Mr. Stevens, but I don't know the name of his company. And
so it's not something you organized?
no, it's something that was brought to me and I organized. It's not me, it's still the NGO manager who should take it further. It's not me who will organize it.
Doctor, did you sign any death certificates?
No.
So the name Manamela on the death certificates wasn't you?
Death certificate? No.
Then just lastly, Doctor, the family members knew before the start of this marathon project that this is going to turn out badly. You agree with that? Just yes or no?
If the family said they know, there's nothing I can say.
They told you that?
Yes, they told me.
Thank you. The professionals told you that this is not going to turn out good. Do you agree with that?
Yes, they wrote letters.
Now, a reasonable person would have realized that this is not going to turn out good. Do you agree?
I agree.
Do you agree with me that the reasonable expert would have known that there are going to be huge problems in this project?
Not fully agreeing with that one.
And I lastly want to put it to you, you should have known that people were going to die.
When we plan, we never plan that any person will die. So I cannot say I knew that they are going to die. If I knew, I should have written a letter and say I'm not part of the project if the leadership carries on.
And
so
even, Doctor, even after people had died, you didn't do that. Isn't that so?
we already terminated at that time. So I had to work hard to ensure that the rest are not going to die. So because it was done already.
Doctor, I want to just put it to you that the deaths of so many of these people lies before your feet. Do you agree?
No.
Thank you, Justice.
Thank you, Counsel. Advocate Groenewald.
Thank you, Justice. Good morning, Dr. Manamela. My name is Dirk Groenewald. I represent 4 family members who lost a loved one as a consequence of this marathon project. My colleagues have asked you a number of questions, and they have canvassed a lot of issues with you. Unfortunately, I also need to ask you a few questions. I would start off by asking you, ma'am, I trust that you've gathered from the comments by the family members during your testimony that they are angry with you. You agree?
That's correct.
Do you know why they are angry with you?
They haven't indicated that to me, but what I know is that they lost the loved one, which is also a pain to me.
Ma'am, I put it to you that they are angry at you because you issued licenses to NGOs under whose care their loved ones died. You agree and you understand why they are angry at you.
That's correct.
That's correct. And ma'am, you will agree that if you did not sign and issue those licenses, their loved ones would still have been with them.
I cannot say I agree on that. Can I qualify it? Because I didn't know if they would be dying. I didn't know. And in our plan, we never planned for anyone to die. And again, the signing of the licenses was within the legal consideration. So I didn't know. If I knew, I shouldn't have carried on.
Ma'am, your employer has conceded that these patients died due to the department's reckless and negligent conduct. So are you saying that your employer was wrong? They shouldn't have conceded that the department was reckless and negligent.
I'm not saying that because the employer, they can say what they believe is what they believe. But from our project team and where I was seated, we were doing our best to ensure that no patient die.
Ma'am, but you are not facing the reality. The reality is that you issued licenses to NGOs, and under the care of those NGOs, 143 human beings died. Do you accept that?
That is true.
That is true. So now we must understand, why did you issue those licenses? Because if you didn't issue those licenses, as I've indicated, these patients might well have still been alive.
Can I say the license was issued because the contract was terminated?
No,
so
ma'am.
I didn't wake up and store and issue licenses.
I'm going to stop you there, ma'am. The licenses weren't issued because the Life Esidimeni contract was terminated. You issue licenses because you say that this NGO is capable of looking after patients. That is when you issue a license. Not because one contract gets terminated and you then just dish out licenses. Do you agree with that?
You are right, I didn't just dish out licenses.
Well,
the licenses that I signed, I was for the licenses, for the licensed NGO that were assessed and reported to me to be eligible. If you look at the document of the licenses, some of the NGOs were not even given the patient because of their condition. So there were NGOs we licensed, we gave a patient, some we didn't.
Ma'am, do you know a Mrs. Matsotsu?
That's correct, Council.
Who is she, ma'am?
She's the Director General for Health in the country.
Do you know she testified here at these proceedings?
I know she did.
Yeah.
And you watched her evidence, you said the other day.
Yes, I watched some of the evidence.
Justice, just for the sake of my colleagues and yourself, I'm going to refer to the day 4 of the proceedings. It's on the 12th of October at pages 4 of the transcript.
Yes.
Now, ma'am, Mrs. Matsotsu testified as follows. She said, so out of the 27 facilities prior to the Ombuds report, the ministerial task team had already recommended that there be closure of some of the facilities. So by the time that the report was released, there were facilities that were already closed. So out of 20 facilities, there was a recommendation that 14 had to be closed and patients had to be relocated to more adequate private facilities. So before you were suspended, man, a number of NGOs were closed down. You will agree.
That's correct.
Now the Ombudsman also tells us in his report that he knew at the time that he was requested to do the investigation, Bob Belong, Sierman, Anker, Bokang and Siabadinga was already closed.
That's correct. And we were the one who closed some of them.
Exactly, ma'am. Now let's keep it short and sweet. How is it possible that you, having issued licenses saying that the NGO is fit to take in patients, within 3 months of those NGOs receiving patients, you close them down and you say they are not fit? How's that possible?
I have indicated last week that some were not paid and the staff left. So we couldn't force because the NGO takes care of this patient on their own. They are not being forced. So if we found that they are not having staff members anymore, the patient was still in our care. Then we have to move the patient where we can ensure that the patient they will receive better care.
So is it your testimony, ma'am, that these NGOs, which you issued licenses for and which were closed down within 3 months of them receiving patients, they were simply closed down because they didn't have staff? Is that the only reason they were closed down?
It may not be the only reason, but the staff was another thing. The payment was not being done for them.
No,
so
ma'am.
without the staff who need to be paid, the resources that they may need, if they were not willing to get the clothes from the company and the meals, and then they will have no choice. Like we have been doing that throughout the process.
You
the
are
years of
shifting
the
blame,
NGO.
ma'am. I'm putting it to you. You are shifting blame.
No,
You're not trying to blame the finance department.
No, I'm not shifting blame.
Yes, ma'am. Then take responsibility and say, well, there was a number of issues. I shouldn't have issued these licenses. And I know it now.
No. How, council, it was presented to me that the council, the NGO can be able to manage. We did some visit and some of the psychiatrists went with us. The engineers went with us. There are others that I didn't go because you don't deliver by yourself all the time. But we had all the records that this NGO can deliver the services.
No, but listen to the question. You know now, according to you, what you did not know then, but you know now that you should not have issued the licenses. Well, that's what council is asking you. What's your response to that?
I know now, but I still saying I didn't issue the license
Do you
illegally.
know now that you should not have issued the license?
That's what these proceedings are saying. But
No.
No, now
Council wants your answer. Do you know now?
No, I know now, although I don't agree with the now. Because at the time when I issued the licenses, the NGO were eligible to take care of the
Now,
patient.
where you sit now, knowing your statutory responsibilities, and it's another matter whether you have them in law. We can debate it some other time. Knowing that now, do you think you did the right thing in issuing the licenses, where 143 people died? That's the question put to you.
But I said at that time I knew, at that time it was right. Now I know that you are saying it was not right.
You are saying, who's saying that?
I am saying, according to the document, legal document I have, I still know that there was no request that I be delegated. And last week I was told that what I know is not right. That's what you said to me.
Listen to the Advocate Groeneval says to you, do you now know that whatever you might have thought then, you were wrong in issuing the licenses? You won't concede in that.
That I was wrong in issuing the licenses.
You know now that that was the wrong decision.
I know now from you, but by then it was not wrong.
Counsel, you go ahead.
So you admit that you should not have issued the licenses, ma'am? I want a yes or no.
No.
So you still persist that you rightfully, even in hindsight, you rightfully issued the licenses?
I legally reissued the licenses.
So you are saying that nothing was wrong with these NGOs. The department was in fact incorrect. They shouldn't have closed these NGOs down. Is that what you say? These Precious Angels, Anchor, all of those NGOs, according to you, should still be open and functioning.
No.
Then why not?
I haven't said that.
Why should they not be open?
Because when we realize the NGOs has got challenges, then we have to do something like closing them. And that's what I said we've been doing throughout the 5 years that I've been in this. If the NGO at the beginning is eligible to take care, we go regularly and find they are not. We've been closing. So we'll still have been closing even after the Life Esidimeni termination contract.
Okay, ma'am, let's move on. I'll get back to this point, but let's move on. What are the legal requirements for obtaining a license to admit, treat, and accommodate patients?
Okay.
What's the legal requirements for issuing a license?
The area need to be assessed and audited.
Area,
And
the premises.
found the premises,
Okay, I'm going to take you slowly through that. So you need the premises.
yes, that's correct.
That premises needs to be assessed,
That's correct.
yes, and found suitable.
That's correct.
All right. Next.
And the staff as well for that NGO, and the type of patient they can be taken care of is also considered. And that the NGO has been registered with the social development.
Yes.
I think there are others that maybe I might have left, but
Ma'am,
we do
you
have
are the
guidance.
director. You should know this at the top of your fingers. You should know exactly what is the legal requirements for NGO, for a license, to issue a license.
Yeah, but I gave you the most important one that I remember.
All right, we will get to each of these just now. Now, Mrs. Matsotsu testified, and she said that there's basically 4 key requirements. She said that the first is that before NGO can be operated, the Department of Social Development must issue them with a registration. Do you agree?
I agree.
She testified further. Secondly, before an NGO can operate, they must have a municipality license. Do you agree?
I agreed.
Okay. Thirdly, before an NGO can operate to render mental health services, if they are also going to render health services, they must have a license to render health services in terms of the National Health Act, but they must also have a license in terms of the Mental Health Act. Do you agree?
In terms of national health care, I didn't know about that. It was not one of the list of the requirement, especially again in terms of the municipality at that time. It was not, but I knew later about that.
Justice, I will request to hand up new LR 85 for me. I have provided it to my colleagues. Ma'am, do you know this document?
Yes, Council, I know the document.
What is this document?
It's about basic requirements for NGO license under the mental health care.
So they need to comply with these standards. For you to issue a license, this is the checklist that needs to be complied with.
That's correct.
That's correct. So let's just go through some of these. Signed and dated copy of the current service level agreement. You need a service level agreement before you can give a license. You agree?
I agree.
Yes, ma'am. Now we heard testimony of at least, that I can recall now from the top of my head, Precious Angels and Anchor, which took in patients prior to signing a service level agreement with the department. That's the testimony. So the license issued to them was not correct, was not lawful.
Can I explain that?
Ma'am, you just testified and you said that a service level agreement is a requirement for issuing a license. I've put it to you that the evidence at these proceedings were that at least Precious Angels and Anchor did not have signed service level agreements with the department at the time when they took in patients, and therefore I put it to you that those licenses issued to them were unlawful.
You can happily,
Council,
you can
can I
happily add
explain?
Sharma to the question.
Can
You
I
can
explain
answer?
that?
I
Okay.
want a yes or no answer, please, ma'am.
Would you
They-
answer the question, please?
Justice, through you, can I answer the question and also explain?
Yes, answer the question, and it might be necessary to explain. But first,
Yes.
answer the question.
Yes.
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, it was unlawful.
And what explanation do you want to
The
make?
explanation I want to make was that the service level agreement is signed by the district, and there was a meeting that they called, and these NGOs were given the copy of the service level agreement to go and discuss further with their board and sign and bring it back. So the date that you saw there that Mr. Chief Director signed is the date when they were sent back. But in that meeting, it was in principle agreed that they will be taking care of the patient, but they must go and discuss first with the board. That's why the DD in my office planned and submit the request for licenses.
Ma'am, have you heard what you just testified?
Yes,
Have you heard?
I heard.
Yes. You said, oh, well, you know, we said to the NGOs, you know, this is in principle the service level agreement. Sort it out and sign it and bring it back to us, but we'll
No.
issue you licenses in the meantime.
It's not what I'm saying.
Your testimony confirms what
Yes.
we've heard throughout this arbitration proceedings,
It
that
is-
you were reckless and you were negligent in issuing these licenses.
So if this is what you are saying, then what do I say? Because it's how you are saying it is. It's
No,
you to
no,
judge.
no, man,
I
that's-
don't know. It's,
No,
justice.
no, we can't.
Because-
Listen, you are asked a simple question. You issued licenses without service level agreement having been signed. And council says that shows recklessness and negligence besides unlawful conduct. Just deal with that.
Justice, I'm trying to deal with that because we are sitting here, some of us were not in health, and I'm trying to explain how it came to be in that manner, but I'm told I'm reckless and whatever. So, but I'm trying to explain so that you understand what was happening. We train these people first. In the training, before you give them the service level agreement document, you train them on what is in the service level agreement. They take it and go back to the board and discuss it with the board. So if they don't want to be part, they won't be part even if we gave license. That's what I was saying.
Ma'am,
so just
once
for you to
again,
understand the process.
you're saying you issued licenses to NGOs, which you said, well, they can still decide whether or not they wanted to provide the service. Do you really listen to what you testify?
They agreed they can render the services, but we trained them. When we train them, it's then that we say, this is the service level agreement. Look at it and take it to your board, because it's the board who must sign.
Ma'am, I stand to be corrected, but none of the NGOs that testified, CEOs of the NGOs that testified here, testified that you provided training to them. That was in fact one of the main concerns, that to say that you promised them training. You promised them training, but you never delivered. What's your answer to that, ma'am?
My answer to that was that the manager were trained by, you look at what is it that you want them to know first. For example, in terms of service level agreement, we call the finance. There are documents where the finance were meeting with this NGO and trained them on the service level agreement. But if they said that is their word against my word, and I don't know what to say anymore about that.
But are you going to answer the question of council that you issued licenses before service level agreements were signed? There might be an explanation for that, but do you understand you to say you did?
That's correct.
Advocate Gulliver.
Thank you, Justice. Oh, ma'am, let me just go through there. There's quite a number of issues here. Admission of users. If you go down, it's the second last bullet point there before the middle of the page. Admission of criteria, screening process, means test, fee structure. And it says, NB, all the above documents must be kept updated and on file for easy access. Now, ma'am, we have seen from the reviews conducted by your own department as early as June, July of 2016, that a number of the NGOs did not comply with any of these requirements. What's your response to that?
I don't know what to say, but the issue was that because of maybe the period, I'm not sure of that because I didn't see that and prepare myself in time. But because of the time period, that is why we asked for 3 months extension. Maybe that was the reason that when the DD was preparing the license, these other things were not there. Because what is here, Justice, is taken to the document that we used at the NGO. So what they presented to me was not this one, was that document of audit.
What are you saying now?
I am saying, Justice, it can be true that most of them were not meeting this requirement as they are here.
Okay, we have an answer. At last, the answer is most of the NGOs who you issued licenses to do not comply with most of the requirements on LR 89. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, that I'm saying that.
Okay, Council, there's your answer.
Thank you very much.
Now, there is an explanation, and you might want to hear it or not hear it.
Just,
But the answer is they did not comply with most of these requirements.
Ma'am, I want to highlight one specific issue because that's going to go, or I'll return to that later on. But you will see their license. It's in the middle of the page, and then there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bullets, 6 bullets. It's marked there. License. Only the number of users specified on the license may be in the NGO at any time. Last one. Only the type of users specified on the license may be in the NGO at any time. So if your license tells you have X amount of patients that you can care for, no more than that, maybe. Put it.
That's correct.
And if your license say you are licensed to look after a set category of patient, you cannot look after any sort of other category of patient. That's correct.
That's correct.
But you agree that during your testimony in these proceedings, you admitted that that was not in fact followed. NGOs received patients in terms of licenses, in terms of a license that they weren't entitled to receive. Let me clarify that. You concede, you admit that NGOs received patients other than those specified in their license.
Yes, in some
Yes.
NGOs it was
Yes.
like that.
So there was non-compliance with that. There was non-compliance with that, ma'am. I don't know how you want to qualify or clarify that.
I want to qualify.
You want
You
to?
may not
Okay.
take it if I'm allowed. Can
Let's
I?
go
Okay.
for it.
The mentally ill patients, you may find that they've got, they're diagnosed as mentally disabled coupled with mental illness. So that at times you find the person who's mentally disabled is still in the hospital with the other type of patient, but it's not all of them or all the time. So that is what we look at. What is the predominant diagnosis of this person? He's there, maybe having mental disabled. The next time is also a schizophrenic patient. So that's why you find that there were patients who cannot just be fully in mentally ill institution or fully in mentally disabled institution like Bokalinen. So that's why we were at that, it was made in that
So,
vision.
ma'am, if I understand you correctly, you deliberately and willfully did not comply with the licenses of the NGOs. You sent them patients which you knew in terms of their license, they actually may not take in.
Not deliberately, but considering their diagnosis and other problems the patient had. So, like I said, you may find that the patient who predominantly suffer from mental disability is also having mental illness, psychiatric patient conditions. So that was an issue that you may find that they're at the same
Councillor,
place.
What are you and Dr. Manamela talking about?
Well, hopefully, Justice, you are understanding my line of questioning. The long and the short is just, they sent patients to NGOs, which they knew in terms of their license, those NGOs could not take. The licenses wasn't qualified to take those kinds of patients. And we heard the evidence that yes, that's so, but we played around with the diagnosis of the patients and what they suffered. But the long and the short is, the conduct was willful, and you knew that those NGOs could not take those patients.
I didn't know that they cannot take care of the patient because we didn't force this patient to them.
All right, so you didn't force. Justice, perhaps if we can adjourn now because we're going to get to a very important part of the cross-examination.
But the witness knows about Ella 80, it's 85, is it?
She knows about it and she has
And she
agreed
knows
that it's-
this is what she should do in order to issue a license.
She has admitted to that.
And she
Justice.
accepts that she didn't comply with these requirements.
Indeed, so. Justice.
I think it's a good time to take the adjournment, yes. We're going to adjourn up to 12 o'clock